But this is not just Mr. Trump. Look at the statements that are being made by the other candidates. There is not a single candidate in the Republican primary that thinks we should do anything about climate change, that thinks it's serious. Well, that's a problem. The rest of the world looks at that and says, how can that be? I'll leave it to you to speculate on how this whole race is going to go. I continue to believe Mr. Trump will not be president. And the reason is because I have a lot of faith in the American people. And I think they recognize that being president is a serious job. It's not hosting a talk show or a reality show. It's not promotion. It's not marketing. It's hard. And a lot of people count on us getting it right. And it's not a matter of pandering and doing whatever will get you in the news on a given day. And sometimes it requires you making hard decisions even when people don't like it, and doing things that are unpopular. And standing up for people who are vulnerable but don't have some powerful political constituency. And it requires being able to work with leaders around the world in a way that reflects the importance of the office. And gives people confidence that you know the facts, and you know their names. And you know where they are on a map, and you know something about their history. And you're not just going to play to the crowd back home because they have their own crowds back home and you're trying to solve problems. And so, yes, during primaries, people vent and they express themselves. And it seems like entertainment, and oftentimes it's reported just like entertainment. But as you get closer, reality has a way of intruding. And these are the folks who I have faith in, because they ultimately are going to say whoever. Is standing where I'm standing right now has the nuclear codes with them. And can order 21-year-olds into a firefight, and have to make sure that the banking system doesn't collapse. And is often responsible for not just the United States of America but 20 other countries that are having big problems or falling apart and are going to be looking for us to do something. And the American people are pretty sensible, and I think they'll make a sensible choice in the end. All right. Thanks, everybody. Thank you. Barack Obama. Associated Press Luncheon Address. Delivered April 3, 2012, Marriott Wardman Park, Washington, D. C. The President. Well, good afternoon. And thank you to Dean Singleton and the board of the Associated Press for inviting me here today. It is a pleasure to speak to all of you and to have a microphone that I can see. Feel free to transmit any of this to Vladimir if you see him. Clearly, we're already in the beginning months of another long, lively election year. There will be gaffes and minor controversies, be hot mics and etch-a-sketch moments. You will cover every word that we say, and we will complain vociferously about the unflattering words that you write unless Of course, you're writing about the other guy, in which case, good job. But there are also big, fundamental issues at stake right now, issues that deserve serious debate among every candidate. And serious coverage among every reporter. Whoever he may be, the next president will inherit an economy that is recovering. But not yet recovered, from the worst economic calamity since the Great Depression. Too many Americans will still be looking for a job that pays enough to cover their bills or their mortgage. Too many citizens will still lack the sort of financial security. That started slipping away years before this recession hit. A debt that has grown over the last decade, primarily as a result of two wars. Two massive tax cuts, and an unprecedented financial crisis, will have to be paid down. In the face of all these challenges, we're going to have to answer a central question as a nation. What, if anything, can we do to restore a sense of security? For people who are willing to work hard and act responsibly in this country? Can we succeed as a country where a shrinking number of people do exceedingly well? While a growing number struggle to get by? Or are we better off when everyone gets a fair shot? And everyone does their fair share, and everyone plays by the same rules? This is not just another run-of-the-mill political debate. I've said it's the defining issue of our time, and I believe it. It's why I ran in 2008. It's what my presidency has been about. It's why I'm running again. I believe this is a make or break moment for the middle class. And I can't remember a time when the choice between competing visions of our future has been so unambiguously clear. Keep in mind, I have never been somebody who believes that government can or should try to solve every problem. Some of you know my first job in Chicago was working with a group of Catholic churches that often did more good for the people in their communities than any government program could. In those same communities I saw that no education policy, however well crafted, can take the place of a parent's love and attention. As president, I've eliminated dozens of programs that weren't working. And announced over 500 regulatory reforms that will save businesses and taxpayers billions, and put annual domestic spending on a path to become the smallest share of the economy since Dwight Eisenhower held this office since before I was born. I know that the true engine of job creation in this country is the private sector, not Washington. Which is why I've cut taxes for small business owners 17 times over the last 3 years. So I believe deeply that the free market is the greatest force for economic progress in human history. My mother and the grandparents who raised me instilled the values of self-reliance. And personal responsibility that remain the cornerstone of the American idea. But I also share the belief of our first Republican president, Abraham Lincoln, a belief that through government, we should do together what we cannot do as well for ourselves. That belief is the reason this country has been able to build a strong military to keep us safe. and public schools to educate our children. That belief is why we've been able to lay down railroads and highways to facilitate travel and commerce. That belief is why we've been able to support the work of scientists and researchers whose discoveries have saved lives. And unleashed repeated technological revolutions, and led to countless new jobs and entire industries. That belief is also why we've sought to ensure that every citizen can count on some basic measure of security. We do this because we recognize that no matter how irresponsibly we live our lives, any one of us, at any moment, might face hard times, might face bad luck, might face a crippling illness or a layoff. And so we contribute to programs like Medicare and Social Security. Which guarantee health care and a source of income after a lifetime of hard work. We provide unemployment insurance, which protects us against unexpected job. Loss and facilitates the labor mobility that makes our economy so dynamic. We provide for Medicaid, which makes sure that millions of seniors in nursing, homes and children with disabilities are getting the care that they need. For generations, nearly all of these investments from transportation to education to retirement programs have been supported by people in both parties. As much as we might associate the GI Bill with Franklin Roosevelt, or Medicare with Lyndon Johnson, it was a Republican, Lincoln. Who launched the Transcontinental Railroad, the National Academy of Sciences, land-grant colleges. It was Eisenhower who launched the interstate highway system and new investment in scientific research. It was Richard Nixon who created the Environmental Protection Agency. Ronald Reagan who worked with Democrats to save Social Security. It was George W. Bush who added prescription drug coverage to Medicare. What leaders in both parties have traditionally understood is that these investments aren't part of some scheme to redistribute wealth from one group to another. They are expressions of the fact that we are one nation. These investments benefit us all. They contribute to genuine, durable economic growth. Show me a business leader who wouldn't profit if more Americans could. Afford to get the skills and education that today's jobs require. Ask any company where they'd rather locate and hire workers: a country with crumbling roads and bridges, or one that's committed to high-speed internet and high-speed railroads and high-tech research and development. It doesn't make us weaker when we guarantee basic security for the elderly or the sick or those who are actively looking for work. What makes us weaker is when fewer and fewer people can afford to buy the goods and services our businesses sell. Or when entrepreneurs don't have the financial security to take a chance and start a new business. What drags down our entire economy is when there's an ever-widening chasm between the ultra-rich and everybody else. In this country, broad-based prosperity has never trickled down from the success of a wealthy few. It has always come from the success of a strong and growing middle class. That's how a generation who went to college on the GI Bill, including my grandfather, helped build the most prosperous economy the world has ever known. That's why a CEO like Henry Ford made it his mission to pay his workers enough so they could buy the cars that they made. That's why research has shown that countries with less inequality tend to have stronger and steadier economic growth over the long run.